and welcome to the Women of Color in Business podcast. I am Lynette Cottrell, your host, and I am so delighted you decided to join us today. We are going on a transformative journey of embracing radical self-love and unlocking the full potential in both our personal and business lives. This podcast is dedicated to empowering us, Black women entrepreneurs, to break free from self-limiting beliefs and guiding us towards our best self. So if you're just starting your business or you've been at it for a while but feel stuck, we got you. Welcome to your safe place. We honor your unique business journey. Here is where you remove your mask, wear your own style of comfort, and get ready to soar. Together, we will grow exponentially and challenge the statistics of how our businesses headed and founded by Black women entrepreneurs, start, grow, and last. So enjoy this great episode and be sure to help us grow by letting your sisters in business know about us so they can also follow us, like us, give us 5 stars, and leave comments. We want to hear from you and know what you want to hear from us. Together, we're going to build a great ecosystem here, impacting the number of Black women-owned businesses that grow and last. All right, sisters, let's jump right into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Women of Color in Business podcast, where we chat with beautiful Black women who are bold and brave enough to step into the entrepreneur boxing ring and start their business. In a time where Black-owned businesses by women is growing at a very high rate, we have the challenge of staying in business to that 5-year mark and beyond. So that's what this podcast is created to make an impact. And one of the biggest ways we do that is by having the brilliant women who are braving this entrepreneur journey come on and be very candid and transparent, sharing their journey, answering the questions, and sharing details with us that we could not get anywhere else. So if you're out there as a new entrepreneur or you've been at it and trying to make it to that 5-year mark, we are here with the information you need, asking the questions that we know are running through your mind and you don't know who to go to get the answers. Well, we have your answers. Today, we have another, as I stated earlier, beautiful Black woman with us. And we're going to begin with her introducing herself and her business. Go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Tania Brown. So I run TP Brown Services, and we help corporate women, typically over the age of 40, but we love all ages, get financially ready so they can leave their jobs and become self employed. The goal is we want them to be able to do this without going broke and begging for their old jobs back.
Very, very, very important. I love that. So tell us, what was your origin story? How did you start this business?
Let's see, I lovingly call it From the Performance Review from Hell. It was my origin story. So so I have been in the financial service industry. My first job in financial services was in 1997, which if we just took out math, I would say was 10 years ago, but
Mhm.
it's actually nearly 30. And my career kind of progressed from there. So started off start off in banking, actually as an administrative assistant, eventually became a financial advisor. Kind of moved into what would be almost like a consultant role where I would go into corporations and help them build their financial coaching programs. This required a lot of travel.
Mm.
And I felt like I was giving a lot of myself to my company. So I would honestly say, even then, I was wondering, was this going to work out? But I can't say I honestly thought about starting a business because I
Okay.
loved what I did.
Mhm.
But I think at one point I was on an air getting on an airplane, and a flight attendant was asking me, "Well, how do your kids do on their test?" or something like that. And I thought, okay, when they know your family, this is too much. Coincidentally, on that flight, I went to my company event, and in our company event, because it was remote, we would have these performance meetings.
Mhm.
And in the meeting, basically, I was told that I was getting punished, which was for 2 I think it was 2 quarters, because I sent an email to my leadership team letting them know I could not make a meeting because I was closing on my house. And my decision to close on my house versus cancel everything to attend the corporate meeting was considered a lack of team spirit and not correctly prioritizing my time.
Mhm.
Let's just say all sparks of entrepreneurship hit me, and I quickly came up with the plan, and I left to start my own business and coaching.
Wow. Wow, and that is not a isolated story.
No.
A lot of us, get that urge once we are just overtly mistreated.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were already traveling a lot. You were already felt like you were given so much, but you were still there. But this overt mistreatment was like the straw that broke the camel back, right? It
Yeah.
was like, okay, it's time to do something else.
Mhm.
So from the time you received that review to actually starting your business, was there a time in there where you were taking the steps, or did you immediately quit, or what was the transition like?
No, I had too many decades as a financial planner. So, to back up, we had been, I lovingly say, a financial hot mess with a blowtorch on it, about 20, almost 15 years prior. So
Okay.
we had to clean up about 6 figures of debt, and once we got out of debt, we had made the commitment that we were going to live on one person's income, that we were going to live in a way where we can pivot. It did
Mm,
mean choices. It meant, the house we got was a third or really a fifth of what we qualified for. It meant that we were not gonna live with debt. So,
mhm,
it took forever, but we saved up for a
mm,
car. Like,
mm,
we made very deliberate choices because I wanted to have freedom in the
got
future.
it.
And frankly, I kind of was doing a little bit of this when I was single. So, it kinda
Mm,
went from my single to my married life. So that was our backdrop. So when it happened, we were already well positioned.
got it.
We just started cutting back, increasing our savings. I kind of had a goal of how much I knew I needed to save. I started prepping in terms of getting the business up and running before I left, getting as much as I could done. So by the time I quit, I had the frameworks of a functioning business. So there was a lot. I think I did 18 months of planning before I quit.
Okay. Okay, great. That's great to know. So in your planning process, what would you say was your major source of major resource for, okay, I know this is what I want to do. How do I lay the framework for this?
I would say I was fortunate that I had been a financial planner for a few decades. So I had that as my background. So the foundation from my end, even then I knew if my personal finances were not in order, I would spend most of my self-employed journey worrying about paying bills
Mm,
versus focusing on growing the business. So I knew even then the importance of getting that part in order. So that's kind of where I laid the foundation. I actually signed up now that you're like sending me back through memory lane.
I know.
I signed up for a business coaching class. Everyone is different, but I recognize the value of working with a coach.
Mhm.
From my standpoint, I wanted to work with someone that fixed problems that I didn't even know I was going to make yet.
Ah,
So I invested in a coach, which I thought was one of my best decisions.
mm,
They saved me. I mean, I still did a lot of mistakes, but they saved me from colossal mistakes.
got it, got it. So finding your coach, was someone you already knew, or did you just look on the internet? How did you find your business coach?
I actually the first one was, um, I think I heard her a few times on, oh dear, I think I heard her a few times on a podcast.
Okay.
That was the first coach that I had, and then I got a coach more specific to my industry, and it was a Facebook group that I joined, and
Okay.
they just kept creeping up over and over again, and I thought, "Well, let me give them a try." So that was how I found my coaches, but I was specific. I knew I had the technical skills,
Mhm.
but I knew even with my background, I needed the business side of it, understanding
Got
the
it.
marketing and selling. So even then, I kinda got that this was more than just technically knowing what you were supposed to do.
Got it. I love that. You said a couple of great things there. First of all, business coach. I think that every entrepreneur at some point in their journey need to definitely invest in a business coach
Yeah,
because to your point, they see your blind spots,
yeah.
right? You have your core genius, you have your core passion, you have your core creativity, but
Mhm.
all the other business stuff is what they can help you with. And we all need help with that because we are running businesses. We're not
Very much
running
so.
a fun hobby or we're not running not even a passion. It's not just about the passion. It has to be, in order to build wealth, it has to be handled like a business, right?
Yep.
And most of us who are becoming entrepreneurs begin as solopreneurs,
Mhm.
and we're not coming from situations where everyone around the dinner table ran a business,
Yeah.
or even one or two people, or even the people in the community or our colleagues. Most of us are coming from environments that are filled with the working person.
Yeah.
So we're kind of a standalone, and being a standalone is kind of like, okay, how do we get all this information that's needed to run a business, right?
Yep.
Business coach definitely a plus. So you being able to recognize it's not just about the part that I know really well. Like I know the financial part really well. I've been
Mhm.
doing this for decades, but there's also a business structure part that I need help getting
Yeah.
place and understanding.
And I would say even as time went on, I knew the financial part, but the financial part from the perspective of being a business, a small business was something new. So even for those of us that took finance classes, well, you learn how to work with super large corporations. You really, that's hard to translate to a self-employed or a micro business environment. So I learned very quickly I had to learn a new set of skills.
Got it. Got it. I love that. Yes. So when you look at your business, where you are today from where you started, how long have you been in business?
6 years.
Okay. So being in business 6 years from where you started, have you ever had the experience of having to pivot or kind of tinker or change what you started out doing to make it better for where you were headed?
Sorry. I jokingly said my head spun so much, I was like that girl from The Exorcist, just green stuff didn't come out my mouth. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. I and I wish somebody would have said my journey was extraordinary normal. When you start a business, I just wish somebody would have said, "Think of it as an experiment." You are
Hmm.
really taking a wild guess in the beginning as to who you think you want to serve in your business model, and you really aren't sure until you actually do it. So what
Hmm.
I thought I wanted really wasn't a fit for my lifestyle, which I really hadn't defined. Like, what do I want
Hmm.
my self employment lifestyle to be like? What business model suits my personality? What clients really work well with my skill set? Like, those are things you honestly can't know until you actually do it.
Yes. Because you're doing a
And
new thing.
yeah, you just kinda gotta get out there, and almost in every case, you're going to pivot also as you grow. So, initially, I thought I wanted to work with younger families. At the time, my children were younger, and I just thought that was it.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know if I was young family repellent but I did not attract young families. In fact, it was almost hilarious because I would put young families in my branding, families on Facebook, talk about families in podcasts. Inevitably, I would get someone saying, "Look, I know you say families, but I'm single with no kids. Can you work with me?"
Mhm.
So it took a second for me to see the writing on the wall that I really was attracting a lot of single women. And also, I got married older. So at some
Mhm.
point, I made a pivot. At the time, it was 100% commission, but it was similar enough to being self employed that I understood how to navigate self employment when you don't have a secondary paycheck. And I found for whatever reason, women were picking up on that, and I loved being that support because if there isn't that spouse, they don't have anyone. So I found they were naturally attracted to me. I loved working with them as well as also older women. So the groups I was attracting wasn't the groups I thought I wanted. So
Okay.
my messaging was all over the place. And initially I just wasn't bringing in a clientele that I wanted. I was taking in anything,
Um,
which meant
mm,
after a while, I had a hodgepodge of businesses. So
yeah.
I actually pretty much burnt the business down, if you
Mhm.
will.
Mhm.
And I went back to a corporate environment. This was short term, and I knew it was short term, but at the same time, I did my business part time. That really didn't last long, lasted for about a year, and I went back to maybe a year and a half or so, and I went back to the business. So I was
Okay.
actually, I'm gonna take that back. It was probably about, I'm trying to think of my timeline. It was close to 2, not quite 2 years.
Okay.
But then about a year into that, I started to pick back up the business. So
Okay.
all of that to say, if you need to take a pause, maybe take a longer term contract to figure things out, that is 100% okay. I
Mhm.
found me and a whole bunch of other people did it. It does not mean you're a failure, and it does not
Okay.
mean you're no longer a business owner. You're just taking a pause to get things back together to move forward. And I had heard of other business owners doing it, so I thought, well, why not me? And I am
Mm.
so glad I did.
Wonderful. I love that you shared that. That's really great information for the audience to take in that one that what who you thought you were serving was not who you were attracting to serve.
No.
And you started out kind of taking whoever came, you right, to have business, to keep this business going. Oh, I can do that too. Yeah, I can help you too.
Yep.
And then it got to a point where you realize, okay, I need to figure something out. And while I'm figuring this out, I kind of need to start all over.
Yep. Very much so.
So let me go back to a job for
Mm.
that salary support while I figure this out and give it the time it needs,
Yeah.
right, to be figured out properly. And then once I have the right things in place and I've answered some of those questions, because you're still not going for perfection. You're going
Correct.
for a better understanding and okay, now my foundation is more solid than it was before. Let me go back and get this running again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. Yes. Great transformation.
Mm.
Great transformation. So, what has been your biggest joy so far in the 6 year journey of your business? What has been your biggest joy in serving your customer base?
I love being the holder of people's dreams. I feel when people come to me, so I work with aspiring business owners who want to get financially ready to quit their jobs and become self employed. I'm
Mhm.
sometimes the first person they feel safe sharing their dreams. And
Ah,
sometimes I get it with hesitancy because they
mm,
think I'm gonna be like, well, that's stupid. And they will never hear that from me because
mm.
I have seen businesses that I didn't even think could be businesses be successful. Like,
I
I'm like,
agree.
I will never say never. Um, also, hope. I would say that's one of the big things I hear is that they come to me thinking this is impossible and they leave with hope. I am realistic. I do call myself the compassionate reality checker. So it is a realistic path and may not look exactly like they want, but there's a pathway. So when that light comes into their eyes and they realize this is possible, this can really happen, that absolutely brings me joy.
Mm. Have you ever had a the challenge of sitting with someone who's come to you with their dream and they want to leave and You have to you have to let them know that the plan, like, I want to leave in 30 days. And you have to let them know it's not going to happen in 30 days because of X, Y, Z. It's best if we do it on this timeline.
Well, I deeply respect what they want. So I tell them if you want to leave, you can leave in 30 days, but your money is going to run out in 30 days afterwards. And if you don't have a ton of business coming in, well, tell me what is your game plan to pay the bills? So if that's what they want, I'm
Right.
clear you have the choice to do this, but you have to accept the corresponding consequence of that decision, which means you
Mhm.
have zero money inside of 1 month and you're not going to make a profit. So it's 1 month from now, you have zero in your bank account. How are you going to not be homeless? How are you going to have a car? And what is the game plan for that? And I
Got it.
find very quickly they get, "Okay, maybe I need to expand this," because I I really respect their timeline and their dreams.
Mhm.
My role is to say, "You do this, fine. Here's the 3 things that are likely to happen."
Mm.
And I find most people come to that conclusion on their own. So when I work with them, they're pretty much like, I would love to quit in 30 days, but I can see now this may be 60 or 90. And I say, would you rather take longer and for this to be done right? And I always say when we do our planning, so when you are self-employed, you can focus on your business rather than stressing about paying the bills, that you're able to live out your self employment dreams rather than taking on clients out of desperation. And you choose. The more planning you do, the more likely that's that outcome. The less planning you do, the more likely you are stressing over your bills and having to take clients out of desperation.
Right. Good. I like something you said earlier too. You said you were considering the elements of what does a solopreneur, and I'm not saying it exactly the way you did, but kind of like what schedule fits for me as a
Yeah,
solopreneur and who do I really enjoy working with? What clientele do I really enjoy working with? And I think a lot of times we get into the mindset of as a solopreneur, we just work all the time, right? We don't think about what schedule works best for me. And we also um, make the mistake of thinking that all money is good money. Any client is a good client because it's bringing in income for me, right?
I'm
So I,
shaking my head for anyone that is like not watching the
right.
video and rolling my eyes. All money is not good money. I cannot scream that from the
Yes.
mountaintops.
Yes. And I think part of the solution is so beautiful what you do because I think if more of us had someone like you
Mm.
to talk to before we made that jump, we would take the time to think about these things. And with a with the confidence of, okay, I'm prepared, right?
Yeah,
I have my plan, I'm prepared. That kind of gives us a strength to know or to give ourselves permission to choose the right customer, right? We're not desperate.
absolutely.
It takes away a lot of desperation. It takes away a lot of stress responses. It takes
Absolutely.
away a lot of changing things that we really don't need to change, things we need to keep solid with. This is
Mhm.
what it is. This is how I do it, and this is how much it's going to cost you, right? Instead of trying to be flexible for everyone, having a plan and being prepared and knowing that you have that money to cover your expenses and you're not desperate gives you a totally different experience as a
Abs
solopreneur.
Yeah, and I tell people if you're going to be strategically solo, you've got to do this with strategy. So you have to be very clear on what kind of life you want. How many hours do you want to work? How many days per week do you want to have to work? Because that goes into your pricing. So then you know how much to price your service. Like I have one friend, she only works 6 months out the year and she does nothing for the other 6 months. And she is solo. She prices her services where she makes all of her money for the first 6 months, but she adjusts her lifestyle. She lives what she's always lived below her means to where she is saving a huge chunk of what she makes. So for the next 6 months out the year, her and her buddies are like touring the country, which is
Oh,
so awesome in
wow.
an RV, but
Uh-huh.
she doesn't have to worry about making money and she just has it to a science. But knowing like where do you want to live? I had one client and she was struggling to save. And the more we were talking, she lived in a super high cost of living. She
Mhm.
worked remotely. She was struggling to save. And where she wanted to live, she just wanted to cruise all the time. And I was like, well, if you live next to a cruise port, does it matter which one? And the one she used the most, the cruise port, the housing was cheaper. So I was like, well, if you just move there now, your cost of living drops, you get more of your money because the state taxes drop, and you are already near a cruise port. That one decision sped up her timeline by 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Because it just never occurred to her that she could just move. In her case,
Right.
it worked out great. So sometimes just having that outside, like looking in
Yes.
person, help you navigate and think through. If your lifestyle isn't extravagant, if your lifestyle is to live smaller, or if you really wanna travel, well, then does the space you live in matter? So then maybe that could be shrinking where you live. Everyone is so different. So
Right,
you
right,
can have more money saved so you don't need as much income coming in. And if you're close to international airports and you don't have a long commute and the flights are cheaper. But all of that strategically plays a role in your lifestyle, where you live so you can do the activities you love to support your lifestyle. And that's why it's so important to know what life you want. And again, that
yes.
goes into your pricing strategy, that goes into how you live. It even goes into your client choices. I had one client and
Mm.
she did not want to work nights or weekends, but the
Mhm.
women she wanted to work with were middle income working moms. And I was like, when else are they gonna what other time are they gonna be able to talk to you?
Right, right,
So if you don't want to work nights and weekends, how are we going to build a business model that gives you the life you want to be able to serve the people? So she wanted to still work with the same group, but she chose a model that better served her, which is why
got
it's
it.
so important to think those things through in advance. And my
Mm.
role is to help you understand how to price those to support your lifestyle.
Right, right. Wonderful, wonderful. So how do you I'm thinking of a person who's had a bad experience at work or just decided, I've had enough of this. I'm ready to pivot to do something different. How would that person find you?
Well, they can find me online. So I'm so easy. I'm TaniaPBrown.com. I'm on LinkedIn. And I always say, look, if you are tired, stressed, and you're just ready to quit, let's have a conversation. Sometimes my answer is, can we maybe take a sabbatical? Maybe like sometimes like I get it, but we want to make sure we do this in a way that doesn't become a cautionary tale.
Right, right. Okay, so they look because I would just have to tell you prior to speaking with you, I was not aware that there was such a service as you provide available,
Mm.
right?
That was why I ended up doing this. My own journey, I think I made this comment before, but if someone were to ask me to describe my first year in self-employment, I do call it a hot mess of a blowtorch. I was all over the place. I was a mess. And even all of my decades of experience didn't quite prepare me. I was prepared financially, I was not prepared mentally.
Right.
And and I just say God has a way of working things out because even when I went back to a job, all the projects I got was helping people create job exit strategies. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was like it was meant to be, and I noticed there was this gap in the personal financial space, and it's interesting because if your personal finances are not in order, those are cracks in the foundation that will completely derail your self-employment journey. So when I saw there was this gap in the market, I wanted to fill it, but in a way that was compassionate, in a way
Right.
that wasn't shaming,
Right.
My thing is we're gonna work from where you are right now. We're not talking about the past, we're moving forward in the future and to give options. There is more than you stay in a job you hate or you leap and quit. There's a lot of
Uh-huh.
in between where we can move people closer to the goal. And I wanted people to know there's a ton of options out there. So I think that and transparency. I want people to know the good, bad, and ugly about my
Yes.
journey. I don't want
Yeah.
people to think I just came out the gate and was in where I am now. This is
Right.
pain and work. So all of that is kind of what spurred me. But no, I'm sorry, that was a long-winded way of saying
That's
there's not
okay.
a me. My service is unique.
Right, right. Wonderful, wonderful. I love that. I love that. So in your process of building your business, you said you've had two business coaches.
Yeah, more than that. Exactly.
Wonderful. So when we talk about mindset, because you spoke earlier about um, knowing your core genius,
Yeah,
and
very
also
much.
knowing you needed someone to help you with the business aspect of a business, and that you had to change your mindset to be able to run your business effectively.
Completely.
So, what does that mindset growth look like? Does it look like self-help books, workshops? Does it look like feeling like you can't do it and trying to find solutions for that because somewhere inside you know you can? Or what exactly are you speaking about when you say mindset work?
Yes to all of the above.
Okay.
I don't know if there was a perfect person out there, but I needed all of that. Um, a friend of mine put it better than I had ever heard it. She said, "Becoming a business owner is one of the craziest masochistic self-development experiments a human being would ever choose to perform on themselves. Every doubt, insecurity, and fear will rise to the surface. That bubble gum you
Yes.
stole at 5, it will be the bane of your existence, and you'll be like,
Yes.
"Because I stole that bubble gum, that's why I didn't get this client." I mean, it is insane. So, just the mind so it's on so many different levels.
Yes.
Making peace with the fear, like,
Mm.
I'm realistic, you're going to it's normal to feel fear for something you've never done that has a risk. So, sometimes I do get frustrated when people are almost shamed in their fear. I mean, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, in the Bible, fear is mentioned, 365 times for every day of the week. So God obviously knew we needed something to combat fear. So
Mhm.
he knew that fear was a big thing. And there's so much of do not be afraid. So if we aren't supposed to be afraid, why is he telling us that? So recognize
Right.
that fear is the journey. And it took me a while to get there. And my motto is throw up and do it anyway. And that you're just so that part of the mindset of seeing everything as an experiment, I don't know why, but I just thought I would do this, not make a mistake, and everything would be perfect. And recognizing you're going to make mistakes because you're doing something you never did before, and that is
Yes.
okay. It is recoverable.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
wish somebody would have said, "It's an experiment. You're figuring stuff out. You're going to pivot. It's okay."
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
the other parts of the mindset, uh, particularly for me as first generation American, you go to school. I feel like this is a lot about the cultures also.
Mhm.
You go to school, you get good grades, you get a good job, you rise up the corporate ladder, and you stay there until you retire, and then you do some stuff and you die. Um, when you break up that formula, it is
Ah,
hard for family to understand.
yes.
And if I'm brutally honest, like, I would love to say, "Yeah, my identity was all in Christ." That got tested when I left my executive job, and I had to admit that my identity was more in my career and my income than I am proud to admit. So
Hmm.
having to shift my identity to who I am in Christ, having to shift my identity away from what I did as a living, that was harder than I'm proud to admit,
Mm,
that it was. Also, the success formula in corporate doesn't work in self-employment. The success
mm,
formula of you don't make mistakes in corporate, whereas self-employment, you're good enough, you're gonna make mistakes, it's okay. Um,
mm,
in corporate, you do a great job, you get a promotion and a bonus. Self-employed, you do a great job, you get a customer complaint, and you're broke.
mm,
So you have got to adjust that. You're gonna work your rear end off, and you're not going to see a dime, and it is frustrating. In
mm,
corporate America, you go to school and, hopefully, do the work that you were paid to do.
mhm,
In, self-employment world, you spend most of your first few years in marketing and sales, and honestly, you're not really doing the work you want to do. It's a
right.
smaller portion in the beginning. So,
Mhm,
I had to do a lot of mindset shifts. I had to focus on what I had control over.
mhm,
I measure everything. That's the other thing. I measure how many outbound calls I make, how many one-to-one meetings. So I try to focus on measuring what I have control over, and I do measure like sales and conversions, but I don't lean on that because I'm like, if I'm doing the work, the other side will work itself out. So I
mhm.
hone in on what are the parts that I have control over, and I'm really diligent about tracking. I'm a big believer, be careful who you share your dreams with because
Ah,
people oftentimes mask, um, criticism. They will mask criticism, what's really insecurity. So you're doing what
right.
other people didn't do, and
Mhm,
sometimes I feel like it triggers their lost dreams, and that sometimes come out as criticism. So
yes.
be thoughtful who you share your dreams with. Not everyone is deserving of it.
Right, right. Oh, wow, you said so much there. I just had bells going off, ding, ding, ding. First thing you said was, oh, the journey of entrepreneurship is going to trigger everything inside you that can be triggered.
Yeah.
So, along with the business coach, make sure you have a therapist because you're going to need one.
My therapist is my best friend, yes.
Yes.
I got
Because
one.
everything you push down, like you said, from whatever age, that
Ooh,
bubble gum you took, every single thing that you've pushed down that you think it's gone, you forgot about it, it's going to come back up. Something's
absolutely.
going to trigger it because you're doing something, like you said, you've never done before. So you're putting yourself like in a raw position.
Yeah.
It's not just business, it really goes to your very soul, right? Because you're pulling from the best within you that you haven't utilized before. You think you've
Mm,
used your best,
that's
but
good.
you haven't.
That's
You're
good.
pulling from places you didn't even know were in there, but now you got to use them, right? Now
Very much
you
so.
have to pull them out. And
Yeah.
when they're coming out, they're knocking up against the other stuff in there that you have to, okay, wait, you got to move this out the way first before you can get that confidence out, right? You got some junk in the way you got to move out. You need to
Mm,
talk to a therapist. You definitely need a therapist. A lot of times when we feel stuck as entrepreneurs, it is because there are things that we need to deal with, limiting beliefs, lack of self-confidence, those type of things that we can't put our finger on exactly what is it that
mm,
makes me think I can only make this much and go this high. My dream is to go this high, but for some reason I'm stuck right here. Why? Why? Therapy is what you need.
I would add to that past traumas. I've spoken to so many people, especially when they talk to me, and if they are stuck, one of the questions I just started asking is, I am not a therapist. Is there a past trauma you have never addressed? And overwhelmingly, if they seem on this cycle they can't get out of, that
Yes.
sometimes is it. And that's when I'm like, most of the time they recognize they need to see a therapist at that point.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Something you said about five good things. Let me see, can I recall what you said? So that was one of them about the junk. What was another one? Oh, they were just so good. Guys, I hope you captured them because now they can't come to me, but you said so many good things. Oh, another one. People don't share your dreams with everybody
Mm.
because the dream was given to you, right?
Yeah.
So no one else has to understand it. Don't give other people permission over your dream. It's for you to understand. And if it scares you, that means it's something that has greatness in it, right? Because if it was just average, you wouldn't be afraid of it.
Mhm.
You'd be like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
But it's something telling you, oh, you got some greatness that's about to show up. And you're like, really? Can I do that? Let me go ask. No, 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 no. Because they don't know your greatness either,
Yeah.
right? You're doubtful of it, and they don't know it either. So whatever their response is going to be, it's not going to be, yeah, I see that greatness in you. You can do that. That's not going to be the response. And a lot of times, when that message or that passion or that dream is given to you, it's for you to release and live through. It's
Mhm.
for you to, there's going to be some wrestling you have to do internally. So sometimes we can have that, send that question outward because we want someone to say, right, nah, you probably shouldn't take that risk, you know? So be sure that you understand why you're asking someone else about your dream. Be sure
Mhm.
that you understand your reasoning behind it too. But yeah, I definitely agree to keep your dreams close because that message came to
Mhm.
you, not to them.
Yep.
Wonderful. What would you say you've seen as one of the biggest challenges with people who come to you and they really want to transition to their own build business? What would you say is one of the biggest challenges they have to face?
You've gotta make a sacrifice. Like, it's the dream doesn't come for free, it's a price tag. And
Mm,
I find that people want the dream without the work, and they're going to have to prioritize. So I find I will sometimes get people who, before they even work with me, they give me a list of what they're not going to give up. And I'm like, okay, then how is this dream going to work? And I want to also say it's okay if it's not the right dream for you. Like I think I want to give people permission if they don't feel like self-employment is for them. That's okay.
uh-huh.
But if you're saying it is, if you're saying this is what's been put on your heart, it's there's a price for admission, and
Mm,
it is going to be monetary. There are things you're probably going to have to change about your spending. There may be monetary dreams you may have to put on hold so you do have the capacity to be able to become self-employed. But also, some of that sacrifice is ego.
mm,
So it's more than just money. It's a
mm,
lot of it's sacrifice.
mm. Okay, that's a big one. That's really good. I remember something you said earlier. You said you wish someone would have told you candidly the truth about being an entrepreneur, what the journey is like, that there are
Ah,
going to be mistakes. You're going to fall down, you're going to get up. Because I think we see so much now, we have so much access to social media that we see people in all of their shiny moments, right?
mm,
So that's all we see are the shiny moments, but we think that's all the moments.
yeah.
That's just the shiny moments. So, and no one, and if that's what we're looking at to gauge that I'm going to create a business and it's going to be like this, right? We don't know that when we fall down, we can get back up, and that's just part of the journey. You know,
Mhm.
your growth, who you are today, starting your business, that person is going to have to grow to
Yeah.
have a successful business. It's not a add water and stir process. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to make a decision and think it's going to work out and it doesn't. It's okay
Mhm.
to pivot.
Yeah.
It's so all of that is part of it. It's not a sign that, okay, I need to shut the doors. It's a sign I need to pivot,
Yeah.
not I'm a failure. That's
Mhm.
how it happens. So beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So what do you want to be remembered for?
Um, Loving people through their dreams.
Mm.
I wanna be that person of hope, and just to hold that person's hand as they really change their life because to me, yes, I'm a financial coach, but really it's aligning your dreams with your behavior. So there's a transformation that takes place as someone is working with me as they go from this employee mindset to the employer mindset. And being there with them throughout the journey, watching women get unleashed in the world so they can
Ah,
make the difference they were created to make. Like, I just love being a tiny part of their journey. I feel like it's an honor.
wonderful. And where do you see your business 1 year, 5 years from now? What are your growth dreams for your enterprise?
So, I'm growing at a pretty steady pace now, so to continue the growth, I've to continue the growth that I'm growing, for more people to know that I exist, uh,
Yes, yes.
to expand in other areas. I've kinda gone international, so that's pretty cool. So that was one
Oh,
of my
good.
dreams, but just to be a leader in the messaging that you get to choose and design your life. If the goal is self-employment, great. If the goal is a seven-figure business where you have a team of people, great. But I wanna be that voice of you get to choose your journey and r respecting that person's journey and looking at this as building a life. Not just a business. You're leaving your job because you want to do work that lights you up. For most people that I work with, they want freedom over their time. They want freedom over the money that they make, not it capped by someone's job description and the freedom to do the things that matter to the most. So, a leader in people thinking through that, I'm in my 50s. So, hopefully, being a leader for women in my age group to say, this can be your option as you move into retirement. For those that maybe have not saved enough for retirement, maybe just going into a business that you truly enjoy, you love doing, figuring out the amount of hours you need to supplement what you've saved, but for this to be an alternative for those that maybe haven't saved enough.
I love that, I love that. A lot of great options you're giving
Yeah.
us there. Hmm, wonderful, wonderful. What do you do when we talk about, self-care? And as an entrepreneur, self-care is a really big issue for me to make sure that
Mm,
as we are building our wealth, we're not sacrificing our joy and our health. Um, One thing you spoke about that hits that is being able to decide what your work life, what your business life as an entrepreneur will look like for you.
mm.
What customer do you love serving, right? So you have joy in that purpose. But outside of your entrepreneur factor, how do you incorporate self-care into your life and into your schedule?
Um, I have to start off my day with prayer.
Mm,
I have to. I find the days where I feel off are the days where I just didn't have that alone time with God. Like, I actually
mm,
it's so funny, I have, like, my daily set of mantras, so I have these
ah,
prayers, like, for me, I say that if anyone, out there is a Christian familiar with the Bible, but the armor of God, I actually read that, but I replace the words with my name, so it
mm,
is, so it's Tanya, and
mhm,
I found that was really powerful. So, I would say the armor of God, Psalm 23 is one of my favorites. I love the passion version of it, but just
uh-huh,
I have these scriptures that I read
okay.
daily, and it keeps me anchored. And I'm truly a believer. I need to put on my armor to prepare for the battle ahead.
Yes.
So, doing that, I have to take walks. Like, I have to
Mm.
take walks outdoors when I'm not freezing, and I know I'm in Georgia, so I know for people and that's, like, in New York or Michigan, "Leave me alone, my
Right.
freezing is not your
They're
freezing."
like, "Freezing? She don't know what
But
freezing is."
I have to take walks, and I call it, jokingly the, self-employment stages of grief. Like, literally inside of 1 hour, you could be like, "I'm the best at this. I'm a failure. I
Yeah.
can't do this. Oh my god, I'm ready to just shut the door and get a job." No, I can endure, and that is literally in 1 hour.
Yes, yes.
And I
So
have
true.
learned to take walks, even if
Okay.
it's 5 minutes. Um, I am trying to get better at this. I gotta be transparent, trying to shut down, my computer. I cannot say I am good at this. Trying to get better at shutting down my day at a certain time. I
Yes.
have been good with I don't schedule anything on Fridays, and I use
Okay.
Fridays as my CEO days where I flip on I switch to something strategic.
Got it.
I'm trying to get better at this one also, but treating myself when I do have a really good month or when I have
Mm,
hit my goals.
mm.
Getting better.
Okay.
I'm a work in progress, but
Okay.
that's what I do.
Now, why you think it's important to treat yourself or to just acknowledge when you have accomplished a goal, but be it small or large? Why is that something that's important?
The first few years before I took the break, I didn't do it, and I always lived in a shadow of what could be instead of it helps you to see your progress.
Mm.
So celebrating your progress helps you focus on how far you've come instead of living in this, "Well, I'm not where I wanna be." So it helps you
Um,
stay present
mhm.
in the present moment. It helps you again, it helps you reflect on how I cannot overstate taking stock of how far you've come sometimes just helps in those rough times.
Yes,
Your
yes,
mind needs rest. I think there's a reason for Sabbath. I
yeah.
need to especially with everything going on in the world, you have
Mhm,
got to have pockets of time where your brain can just rest.
mhm. I love that you shared that. Yes, I too believe that you should always take the time, make it a new habit to take the
Mhm.
time to recognize and congratulate yourself and
Yeah.
even give yourself the chance to sit in a win, right?
Yes.
Not just say, yeah, I did that, but to sit in it and let your nervous system and your emotions get used to feeling that.
I like
I
that.
did it.
Mhm.
Because our nervous system is so in tune with fear and being unsafe, and there's a
Mm.
risk, and is it going to work out? That we have to offset that by letting ourselves dwell in when we did it right, when
Yeah.
we won, when we made the great decision, right? So that we kind of balance off that fear and that unsafety with I can make good decisions. But if we just make it and move on to the next problem, we never get used to feeling that, right?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I never considered that. I need
Mhm.
to take that one back with me. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Tanya, it's been a blast
Mm.
talking with you today, as I knew it would. I love all the gems you dropped. I love your candid and your transparency and really sharing what you wish someone had shared with you
Yeah.
when you started out. I think I'm sure that's going to help a lot of us as we either start our entrepreneur journey or continue. Like there may be someone thinking about, is this for me? And just hearing that, okay, well, I'm doing it right because I feel just like she said she felt. And okay, I'm going to come out on the other side of this. Let me
Yeah.
just keep going. That's
Yeah.
the entire purpose for what we do here on the Women of Color in Business podcast. So as we close out, we love to ask our guests 5 fun questions.
Okay.
First one for you is, if you could speak with anyone from history, anyone at all, who would you choose and why?
Oh, Harriet Tubman. How on earth did someone who was illiterate, did not really know the woods,
Right.
basically lead the Underground Railroad and never lost a person.
Tell me about it.
I how do you have I would not have done it. How do you have
Good.
the courage to
Tell me
go
about it.
back?
Yes.
Can't read.
Yes.
I just want I just want a tenth of that courage, but I would
Right.
love how? Like, that should be my number 1 person.
Remarkable. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely remarkable. My next question for you is, who was your favorite teacher and why?
I do not remember her name, my 1st grade teacher. She, she brought books ho she gave me a love of reading. She just I just it's so funny, I'm, like, in my 50s, and she was my 1st grade teacher, and I still
Right.
remember her. She
Right.
was so enthused she was so loving, even to this day, she was so loving, enthusiastic about reading that she gave me a love of reading that over 40 years later, I still carry.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What was your favorite childhood game?
Um, oh my gosh, what was the weird one? Twister.
Nice. What's the best advice you've ever received?
The best of um, the best advice I ever received. I've heard several versions of this, but it comes from the greatest philosopher of all times, Dory from Finding Nemo. Um, just keep swimming. Some days you're gonna swim an inch, some days you're gonna swim a mile, but no matter what, you've made progress.
Ah, I love that.
Didn't quite say
Okay.
it like that, but that was the just keep swimming.
I'm good. Yes, I'm gonna have to write that one down. And the very last one, what's your favorite place to travel or your dream place to travel?
We literally just got off of a cruise to the Bahamas a couple of days ago, and that we've been there so many times, like, we know our spot on an island. Like, we had like, that is one of our favorites because it's familiar.
Oh, wonderful. Beautiful. Well, again, Tanya, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a true delight to speak with you and to hear all the great information you shared for the audience. We wish you all the best of joy, health, and wealth in your entrepreneur journey.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me this time, and thank you for people giving me their time listening to me. So I hope I gave them something of use, so thank you.
Today's podcast is being sponsored by Your 90-Day Success Journal for Black Women Entrepreneurs by Lynette Cottrell. The journal is available on Amazon. It's inclusive of monthly goals, weekly and daily goals, affirmations, self-care practices, and inspiring quotes from other Black women. Be sure to get your copy today. Your 90-Day Success Journal. Hey sis, so thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you got some great gems today from our beautiful Black woman entrepreneur. You got inspired to go do more. You got re-energized and refreshed. We want you to take the best care of yourself. It is our deep belief that we as Black women entrepreneurs deserve to build our wealth without sacrificing our joy or our health. So we deserve to have the joy, the health, and the wealth. And we love helping you to get there. Again, be sure to leave a comment, rate our podcast, and share it with another beautiful Black woman that you know of. Visit our website at www.wocib.org and check out the great merch we have there for you and the workshops. We're working on some wonderful things for you. All right. We look forward to staying in touch. And until next time, be well.